All right, so I chose not to put these notes up on the board because you can follow along on page 75. Okay, and then feel free to like add anything you want to on top of those notes in your book because it's your book. Okay, I heard you the first 3 times. All right, so how a bill becomes a law. All right, now a couple of things here. This will take us 2 days to get through, okay? And then I want to give you, like, take an example through introduction to being signed into law, okay? On the test with how a bill becomes a law, what you're going to have is not an essay, like my regular government class is writing an essay on this, okay? They have 6 steps, you have 13, okay? Now, with this, what you're going to get is 2 sections of short answer questions. 1 section worth 1 point each, and 1 section worth 2 point each. Okay, so I think there's like 6 in each one. Okay, so I think as I go over this, you guys will know a lot of it already because I've kind of introduced some of this stuff as we've gone through. It's not rocket science. Okay, there may be some terms that you haven't heard before. Some processes you're not familiar with, but it's okay. All right, so anybody, you, me, the president can write a bill. Mr. Dugan can write a bill, okay? But only a member of Congress can introduce that bill to Congress, okay? A member of Congress who introduces or proposes a law is called a bill's sponsor. Yeah. Now, other legislators who support the bill or work on its preparation can ask to be listed as co-sponsors. Okay, so sometimes, like in history, we've talked about some legislation like, I remember terms like this, the Glass-Steagall Act. Okay.
No.
I think Mr. Dugan might have talked about the McCain-Feingold legislation, which was campaign finance legislation. Okay, those are the sponsors of the bill. Now, if you can get a Democrat and a Republican to sponsor a bill, hey, you may have a chance, right? I mean, like if you get 2 people from different parties sponsoring a bill together, you may like have a legitimate chance here. Okay. All right. Congress considers 4 basic types of action, and that should probably say action instead of legislation, because a couple of these are not actually laws, okay? So a bill would be a law, right? A bill is proposed legislation. When it's signed by the president and passes both houses of Congress, it becomes a law. Until then, I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill.
Is that a song? Yeah, it's a song.
It's a song.
Oh, is it from the schoolhouse? Can we listen to it?
Yes, we will. Okay. But there are also these things called resolutions. All right? What are they called? Now, it's not a law, just an opinion or adoption of a new procedure would be a resolution. There's simple ones, and there's concurrent ones, which are not a law, just a simple resolution in which both halves agree on. And then there are joint resolutions, which are laws, but deal with unusual or temporary matters. Okay, so let me give you some examples of some resolutions. All right. So today is what's the date today?
14.
April 14th. Anything of great significance ever take place on April 14th? Taxes tomorrow. Yeah. Your taxes are due tomorrow.
Hannah Almond's birthday?
Hannah Almond's birthday. So, let's go with April 19th. Okay. Does anybody know what April 19th is called?
National something day.
April 19th, 1775. The shot heard round the world, the sound of a revolution. The battles of Lexington and Concord. I propose a simple resolution that may become a joint resolution that henceforth April 19th becomes known as Patriots Day or Patriot Day.
Oh, wow.
Patriot Day.
Yeah, something I'm too.
Because the Minutemen showed up, yes? That would be a simple resolution. Or to call today, April 14th, National Pancake Day.
Are you kidding?
Now, I'm not kidding you.
See, I knew it. It's probably something national.
I don't know if today is, but there is a National Pancake Day.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's probably something national something.
Wasn't there, didn't the governor have a resolution on the day of Father Casey's funeral that like that
Don't
day?
take away Pancake Day from the people of Liberal, Kansas.
That's right.
They have the National Pancake Day race with some
British?
city in Britain and Germany, and they're like 6-time winners. Don't take away National Pancake Day.
Have you guys heard of this?
No.
Do it.
Yeah,
They
every
race
year.
flipping a pancake. Pretty cool.
Every year. They do it in conjunction. 2 cities across the Atlantic. Yeah. Liberal, Kansas. I forget the one in England. But, okay. Now, that's just a resolution. Is this a law? No, it's not a law. It's just a resolution. Okay. Now, let me explain what a joint resolution might look like. Okay. Let's say a bill is passed. It's signed into law by the president. Okay. It's fixed. That is now a law. And then somebody looks at the bill and they're like, oh, crap. We misspelled a word. No, we're going to do a joint resolution to fix that word, even though it's already passed. Does that make sense? We're going to fix that. Okay. Now, that's pretty rare. Okay. But it could take place. Okay. So if you were asked, like, hey, what are some of the things that Congress does that are not laws?
A bunch of resolutions.
Simple and concurrent resolutions. Okay. Now, the bill is introduced by the sponsor. It gets a first reading, and it is entered into the congressional record and assigned a number. Okay. Now, so if you introduce a bill in the House, which most bills start in the House, yes, we might call this House Resolution 5150. Okay. It's got a number. Now, what's going to happen to this bill once it gets a number? Now, it's officially in the congressional record. So if you introduce a bill, it stays in that record forever, even if it goes nowhere. Okay? You've made history.
Is that why you keep hearing about like HR 9 and
Uh-huh.
10 and those?
Yeah, that's just the name of the bill. Yeah,
Like they
the number.
died a long time ago
Yep.
and then got resurrected.
That could happen. Okay, now, the bill is going to be sent to a committee. Yes? All bills and resolutions are referred to one or more House or Senate committees. Now, do you remember who gets to choose which committee these go to?
Speaker of the House.
In the House, it's the Speaker. In the Senate, it's whom? The Majority Leader. Okay? Good. See, you already knew this. So, step here is it goes to a committee. Now, and I have only in here in the notes assigned by Majority Leader to as many as possible, so Majority Leader and the Speaker. Okay. Now, for instance, we talked about Obamacare. I think I might have mentioned this. It's 2,600 pages long. Nancy Pelosi sent that to 11 different committees in the House to break it apart and work on it. Okay. Now, what's the next step? The committee is going to act. Now, this is where most bills die, as we've talked about. And if it sits on the committee's chair's desk and is never looked at, never put on the calendar, it's called a pigeonhole. Okay? The full body can force a bill out of committee after 30 days. I mentioned this, I think, in here with a discharge petition, but this rarely happens. Usually it is now sent to one or more subcommittees. So it goes to the committee chair likes it, puts it on the calendar, sends it to some subcommittees underneath his committee. Everybody with me here? Okay. Now, subcommittee review. Now, guys, this is where the real work begins. Okay. Now, the work that went into writing the bill is important, but this is where the other members are going to have to start have a say. So the committees send some bill to subcommittee for further study and public hearings. Okay. So this step is important. Hearing. Now, if we are on a committee, say we're on the House Ag Committee, okay, and we are going to be in the Imports and Exports Subcommittee, or let's say Trade, or Agricultural Trade Committee, Subcommittee. Sorry, stay with me. Okay. All right, so you're on the Agricultural Trade Subcommittee, okay? So it goes here to here, okay? Now, these people in the House Subcommittee on Trade, are there more Democrats or more Republicans on this committee? There's more Democrats because the Democrats control the majority, correct? Are you with me? Now, I'm not sure if you've ever seen a room that looks like this. You probably have. These are people. These are desks. And these are people. These are members of the committee sitting here. These are people coming to testify at the hearings. Everybody with me? Okay. Now, most of the time when you have committee hearings, the room looks like this. Because members don't have to go. Okay. Now, if it's an important hearing, sometimes more members show up. Now, there's more Democrats than Republicans here. Okay. So no matter what the people testify to, now who are you going to bring into this hearing? Okay, so what we're looking at is we want to export more food, more wheat to the Middle East, okay? Because they're starting to starve because Russian and Ukrainian wheat exports have fallen dramatically. And so food prices are starting to go through the roof in Europe and the Middle East and the United States. Okay? But there's a shortage. So this is what we're talking about. So who are you going to bring in here to testify? Experts. Okay? People in the field. All right? Does that make sense? Now, you're going to have some people here in favor of sending more food to the Middle East. And you might have some people say, well, actually, we need to hold on to that food because we may have a shortage. So you get two opinions here. You with me? And the members listen to these experts, okay? And it helps frame their decision. Okay, Republicans call their witnesses, Democrats call their witnesses. And they ask questions. That's a hearing. You with me? Now, you guys, let me give you kind of an example. Now, there are people that are famous, like celebrities, that go and testify in front of Congress sometimes. Like, you guys know who Stephen Colbert is? Yeah. He's testified in front of you. You don't know who that is? That's okay.
Who is it?
He's a late night talk show guy.
Okay.
Who's not very funny anymore. Okay?
I don't even have cable.
He's on network TV.
I don't even have that either. We don't even have Netflix.
Okay, Netflix is not cable. We'll talk later about programming on television.
I don't know.
I know. It's okay. Now, How about, you ever heard of Bill Gates? Okay. Founder of Microsoft? Yeah, he's testified before Congress. Bill Gates? All kinds of different things. Business, vaccines. Yeah, he founded a computer company. Yes, and we're taking medical advice from Bill Gates. But anyhow, hey, let me give you somebody else. You guys have all heard of embryonic stem cell research, right? Yeah. Okay, so back about 15 years ago, you ever heard of a guy named Michael J. Fox?
Oh, yeah.
Back to the Future, the movie Back to the Future, he's the guy that, yeah, he's the main character, okay? Now, Michael J. Fox has Parkinson's disease, okay? And it's pretty advanced. And he grew up, when he was younger, he played a role on TV. A really famous TV show that everybody grew up watching. Everybody knew Michael J. Fox was, in my generation. And so he testified in Congress saying that this embryonic stem cell research, doctors are telling him that this could lead to cures for Parkinson's. And so he wanted the government to fund this research. So the Democrats brought him in. And the Republicans, you know, who represent millions of Catholic people as well, that say, hey, where are you getting these embryos? Oh, you're getting these embryos from aborted babies. And the government is funding this research with my money, with my tax dollars. And some people are like, hey, I don't like that too much. That's not really what I want my money to go towards. So Michael J. Fox famously came and testified in front of Congress, and it was emotional. Okay? And it has an impact. When celebrities show up to testify, you know who else shows up? Media, with their cameras. And this is going to be on TV. And members of Congress like this, because now they know they're going to be on TV. Okay? So these hearings, you know, they can ask tough questions. Okay? Remember when I talked about congressional oversight at the end of yesterday, where the Congress has to oversee the executive branch? They do hearings like this too. So you haul the director of the IRS, the director of the FBI in front of Congress, and you ask them tough questions. It makes you look like you're doing your job. Okay? Makes you look good. All right? So they love to bring celebrities in because the cameras show up. Like I said, most of the time, half these seats are empty. Celebrities show up, these seats are going to be full. Okay? Now, you ever heard of a guy named Lars Ulrich? Lars Ulrich is the drummer for Metallica. Okay? He's coming to testify in front of Congress. How about Dee Schneider? Ever heard of Dee Schneider? Dee Schneider is the lead singer for a band called Twisted Sister. You ever heard of Twisted Sister? We're not gonna take it. No. And you ever seen the video? It's freaking classic. Okay. I saw Twisted Sister in the 6th grade at the Carmel ice skating rink. It was awesome. Parents were freaking out. Okay. Like this, you know, this, and the language. And so Tipper Gore, who was the vice president's wife, like she wanted to put like warning labels on music, you know, and Dee Schneider, you know, they think he's just some kind of drugged out rock guy, right? Well, Dee Schneider shows up to testify in front of Congress, and now he wears decent clothes, okay, but he's got the flow 80s going on, right? The big blonde hair. He didn't wear his makeup, okay, and guess what? Dee Schneider's a smart guy. He's very well spoken, and he's standing up for free speech. And he made Tipper Gore look this big, okay, about how silly she was being, okay. So it's a great story. So those are examples. If you bring Miss America in to testify, Think these old white guys are gonna wanna show up and see that?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a tactic,
that
okay?
is-
It's a tactic, all right? So these hearings, now, I'm kind of being funny, but it's true. Now, let me give you, now, ordinary citizens can be called, anybody can be called to testify, okay? And how many guys have ever, heard of a law called Megan's Law? You may know this and not know the name of it. Okay. Megan was I think she was about 8 or 9 years old. And her parents and Megan, they thought they lived in a safe neighborhood. And what they didn't realize is that a guy that had been convicted of a sex crime against a minor had gone to jail, did his time, got released from jail, and moved into their neighborhood. They were not aware of who this man was. You ever see a house go up for sale in your neighborhood, you have no idea who's going to move in. Had one go up in my neighborhood, that house will be sold, I would imagine, within a few days or hours. Because houses are going like that right now, yes? Okay, now, I did see some people who were looking at it yesterday, a couple of kids, they looked a little redneckish, but I'm sure they're fine, okay?
I prefer that.
Okay, so anyhow, Megan became this guy's next victim.
Okay.
The mother and father obviously deeply disturbed and upset that they didn't know this guy was in their neighborhood. They went to their member of Congress and said there ought to be a law that people should know when these types of people sex offenders move into their neighborhood. Megan's mother testified in front of Congress. And when she was done talking, there was nearly a dry eye in the room. That became Megan's Law. So if you are convicted of a sex crime and you get out of jail, you have to register with the community that you live in so that people know that you live in their neighborhood, so they can keep themselves safe from you. Yeah.
If a registered sex offender was trying to move into like my neighborhood, could I say like?
You can't stop them. No. But you know they're there. Okay? Now, there's a constitutional issue here, right? I mean, what about the person that made the mistake? A big mistake, be it, okay? They've served their time. They've paid their debt to society. Yes? Can you continue to punish them? Oh, yeah. I mean, in a way, now, you probably heard some of the things that you can go on the sex offender registry for. Like, I've heard that you can go on the registry, like, if you're like a guy and you gotta really pee and, you're in a parking lot, you go behind some cars and you pee and the cops see you, that's called what? That's like, yeah, public indecency, lewd behavior, whipping it out in public, okay? Which some people that are kind of sick do, you know what I mean? That's like, yeah. So, there is, hey, you got to look out for you got the legality of this, okay? Now, this has withstood constitutional much, okay? So you guys know there's an app you can get for your phone, right? I don't know if you know that. Or you can go online, just go online and Google sex offenders near me. Okay, put in your zip code and you will be shocked. You will be shocked how many there are and how close they live to you. I had a friend, I still have a friend, he's still a friend. He used to coach here with me. He was assistant coach for me for 10 years. He's a parole officer. And for about 5 years, he was in charge of the sex offenders in Wichita that were parolees that have been let out of jail. Okay, if you're on parole, you can't do certain things, right? Or you go back to jail. this nearly killed my friend. And just being around these people every day that are pretty sick. It was awful for him. I mean, he had to switch. I mean, he had to get out of that unit. Okay. There's another law that was passed in Kansas. If you are a convicted sex offender, now you guys know what recidivism rates are. Like the likelihood of you, once you commit a crime, you'll do it again.
It's like 80%.
Yeah, for sex offenders, guys, recidivism rates are extremely high, especially those of child sex offenders. Oh, it's terrible. So listen, you do your time. You get out. If the state of Kansas feels you are still a threat, they can have you institutionalized in a state hospital until they feel you are no longer a threat to society. Whoa. The Attorney General of Kansas at the time, when this law passed, was a lady named Carla Stovall. And this was challenged in the U.S. Supreme Court, and she went to the Supreme Court and argued this case for Kansas to keep these people off the streets. And she won. Okay, because these people have done their time. They get out. We think they're still a threat. We put them in a mental hospital. So they can't be around the general public. I mean, from the, the perpetrator's perspective, he's done his time. Can you continue to punish him? Well, Supreme Court said yes. But you're not in jail, but you kind of are still in jail if you're in a mental institution. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, so this is the type of impact these hearings can have. A lot of times it's just, there's not a lot to it. And you're bringing in experts and they're kind of giving their opinion. Okay. Republicans and Democrats have pretty much made up their mind with a lot of this stuff. Maybe not yet. Maybe they want to have these hearings and learn more about the issue. Okay. So I don't want to say, these don't matter. They do matter. Okay. So, all right. So where do we go next in the notes here? Okay. So government officials, industry experts, the public, anyone with an interest in the bill can give testimony in person or in writing. Notice of these hearings, as well as the instructions for presenting testimonies, officially published in the Federal Register. Okay, that's just all right. Now, markup number 5 here. If the subcommittee decides to report or recommend the bill back to the full committee for approval, they may first make changes and amendments to it. This process is called markup. Okay, so you had the person introduce House Resolution 5150. Okay, here's the text. It's 75 pages long. Okay, and they're going to go in and mark it up. I'm going to take this part out. I want to change this and amend that. Let's take that out. Let's add something in here. The language needs to be different here. Okay. So this is where the real work gets done in markup. You have lawyers there that understand the language of how this needs to be written and so forth. Okay. Now, so they can make changes to it, vote, recommend it, report it to the full committee. If the subcommittee votes not to report to the full committee, the bill dies. So we are in subcommittee. They do this work. They have hearings. They do markup with me. Okay. And then they vote. These people will vote. And if the majority of them vote yay, we're going back to the full committee.
Which could.
Yeah, it could. A lot of times it is party line vote. Okay. All right. Okay, committee action. Now we're back in the full committee. Okay, the full committee now reviews the deliberations that took place in the subcommittee. The recommendations. The committee may now conduct further review. They can have more hearings, do more markup, or they can simply vote on it. Page 2, 76. So the committee has 4 options. How many options? 4 options. They can pass it with a positive recommendation. We like this bill. We think it should go all the way. Pass it with no recommendation. Here it is. You guys check it out, see what you think. We don't really have an opinion on this. They can pass it with an unfavorable recommendation. You know, we think that the meat of this bill is important, but we don't really like it very much. Maybe we should move it along and see what the Senate can do with it. That's pretty rare. Or they can just kill it. Now, what is most common? Passing it with a positive recommendation, okay? This is called reporting the bill to the full body. Okay? Time we get out here? 40 today?
50.
Whoa, 50.
But they might do that.
Okay. Do we know? Do you know? You don't know who the court is? Oh, you're not privy? Who's privy?
Grace Long, she's not able on the committee, I think. Because I heard her talk about someone went to go get the, somebody got the crown a few days ago.
Okay. All right. All right. I know when I went to prom, my date was on the court.
Wow. You went to
Yeah, that was Maureen. Told you about Maureen, didn't I?
Why does everyone have more of a life?
Just hold our history, please.
Huh? Oh, that was history class?
Hello.
The girl fight?
Oh.
They fight over you?
You guys don't know that story?
No. You have to tell us now. Let's tell it.
All right, let me get through publication of committee report. Then we'll talk about prom. Okay. All right, publication. All right, guys, this is a huge step. Okay, so this agriculture committee has been working on this. Okay, they've done the work on it. Now they're going to release a report. The report will include the purpose of the bill, the impact on existing laws.
We'll have to do that too in a second hour. We are going to do the broadcast team and people running around announcing our passport. So get ready. If you want to join us,
What am I doing? What do I need to do?
We have no idea.
Put it on